Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at yet another interesting subgroup of a group. So let's begin with the problem right away. So I take G to be any group and take a fixed element A in G. And based on this element, we are defining a set H. H contains all integral powers of A. So just to give you an idea, H will have elements like a raised to minus 3, a raised to minus 2, a raised to minus 1, a raised to 0, a raised to 1, a raised to 2 and so on. In the last lecture towards the end, I told you what is the meaning of a raised to an integer. If n happens to be a positive integer, then by a raised to n, we simply mean a star a n times. We defined a raised to 0 as e, but we also gave the motivation for this definition. And then finally, we saw that if n is a negative integer, then we can always write it as a inverse raised to minus n, and minus n is a positive integer, so it will have a similar meaning. So H is a set which contains all integral powers of A, and our first order of business is to prove that H becomes a subgroup of G. So let us first of all prove that H is a subgroup of G. So here I have a group G. I have an element A which lies in G, and I have defined H to be all integral powers of A. By closure property, all positive powers of A will belong to the group. Similarly, all negative powers, because A raised to a negative power can be written as A inverse raised to a positive power, and A inverse is in G. So all positive powers of A inverse will also lie in G by closure property. Also A raised to 0 by definition is E. So basically these are all elements which lie inside G. So it is clear that this set H that has been defined is definitely a subset of G. So we are in the right set, and now let us look for the most important element. If H contains all integral powers of A, it's also surely going to contain 0, the 0th power of A, and A raised to 0 is defined as E. So by the very definition, E belongs to H. So identity is there in H. This also tells us that H is non-empty. And now let's use necessary and sufficient condition. And I will use the second necessary and sufficient condition, if you remember, which is a combination of closure and inverse property. So let us begin by taking any two elements in H. Remember, an element of H looks like an integral power of A. So X is going to look like A raised to M for some integer M. Similarly, Y will look like some other integral power of A, maybe the same, maybe different. So X and Y are both integral powers of A. Now we look at X into Y inverse. X is A raised to M. And if we use this notation for the inverse, then you can freely use laws of indices. So we will get A raised to M into A raised to minus N, which works out to be A raised to M minus N. And if M and N are integers, then M minus N is also an integer. So what I have out here is an integral power of A. So this element that I just calculated is an integral power of A, and all integral powers of A lie inside H. So this element is inside H, and therefore this element is also inside H, and that is our necessary and sufficient condition for a subgroup. We have proved that if two elements lie inside H, then first into inverse of the second also lies inside H, and therefore H is a subgroup of G. That takes care of the first part of the problem. So we have proved that H is a subgroup of G. Let's see what else the problem demands. We've been asked to prove that H is a subgroup of G, which we have done. We now wish to prove that it is the smallest subgroup of G that contains A. So firstly we proved that it is a subgroup. Now we want to prove that out of all such subgroups, it is the smallest. But before we do that, we also will prove that it is a subgroup which contains the element A. Now that again is easy. Look at A raised to 1. This is an integral power of A. So this is surely going to be in H, and A raised to 1 is nothing but A. So definitely A lies inside H, or H contains the element A. So H is a subgroup of G which contains the element A. And now finally we come to the last part, which says that we need to prove that H is the smallest such subgroup. Let me explain what we mean by that. So I have a group G. I have an element A. I have taken all possible integral powers of A and constructed this set H. We proved that H is a subgroup. It also contains the element A, and now we wish to prove that it is the smallest such subgroup. That means if I compare H with any other subgroup, so suppose I compare H with any other subgroup of G and not any other subgroup, it has to also satisfy this condition. So if I take any other subgroup of G which also contains the element A, then H has to be smaller than K. This is what I wish to prove. So H is one subgroup of G which contains the element A. Likewise, there may be other subgroups also which contain A, but if I take any other such subgroup, I would like to prove that it is bigger than H, or H is smaller than K. So I will prove that H is a subset of K. Mind you, K is any subgroup of G which contains the element A. And my aim is to now prove that H is a subset of K. So let me try and prove this. Take any element of H, any arbitrary element of H, but then every element of H has to look like an integral power of A. So this element X is going to look like A raised to n for some integer n. To simplify our argument, I will make three cases for n. Case 1, when I say n is an integer, it can be positive, negative, or it can be 0. So case 1, suppose n is a positive integer, then this x is nothing but a star n times. Star is the binary operation on this group. So x can be written this way if n is positive. Now remember, A is in K. K is a subgroup which contains A, and if K is going to be a subgroup and A lies inside K by closure property, A square, A cube, all powers of A, all positive powers of A are going to lie inside K. So because this is a positive power of A, it will lie inside K, and so in this case X belongs to K. Okay, what happens if X is 0? This case is really easy. If n is equal to 0. If n is 0, my element X is going to look like A raised to 0, and A raised to 0 is E. E is surely an element of K. So in case 2, X again lies inside K. Now let's look at the final case where n is a negative integer. And remember what meaning we had given to a negative integral power of A. We can write this as A inverse raised to minus n. Minus n is a positive power. Now once again, use the fact that A lies inside K. K is a subgroup of G. So A inverse has to be inside K. And now this is a positive power of A inverse. So by closure property, A inverse raised to minus n will also belong to K. And that means in this case also, X lies inside K. So in all three cases, whether n is positive, negative or 0, I have proved that the element X also lies inside K. So every element of H lies inside K, and therefore H ultimately becomes a subset of K. So if I take any other subgroup of G which contains A, then H happens to be smaller than K. And because this is any other subgroup which contains K, which contains the element A, H happens to be smaller than every such subgroup. So out of all such subgroups which contain the element A, H is the smallest. And this is a very special subgroup. This subgroup, notice that in H, the most important thing is A. Once you know A, you know all elements of H. You simply have to take different integral powers of A. So this subgroup H that we just now defined, this is called as cyclic subgroup of G. And because in this case the hero is A gives rise to all the elements. This is called a cyclic subgroup of G generated by the element A. So this is called a cyclic subgroup and it is generated by the element A. And this can be denoted symbolically as H equal to round brackets A. So this kind of a subgroup that we got, it's a subgroup of G. It contains the element A and it is the smallest such subgroup. And this subgroup is called as cyclic subgroup of G generated by the element A. In the next chapter, we will be studying cyclic groups in details. But before we go to the next chapter, we will look at some problems of cyclic groups in the next few lectures. That's all for now. Thank you.